right? Am I on?
Sure.
Yes?
Anyway, my name is Beth Berry. I'm a licensed practitioner out of Center of the Heart. However, most of you haven't met me because, or a lot of you here haven't met me, because I'm what we call an outreach practitioner. Because 4.5 years ago, I decided to buy an RV and go on the road around the United States. So I've been doing that for 4.5 years. But I do get your prayer requests along with all the other practitioners and pray when you send those in. And this place is my heart. And I was just telling EJ, because I go to a lot of other centers when I'm out and about, but just EJ's music and George and Debbie today, man, amazing. I was listening, she just learned that song. And I'm like, wow, it's like a few minutes ago. So pretty amazing. Anyway, so I'm excited to be here at home, and I am going to be talking today on the principle and the practice of oneness. Now, according to what, your name just went? Muriel, sorry. We just met today also. That all I have to say is God is and I'm done, right? So thanks. No. Anyway, I want to start with a little story for you. And this story, I keep thinking that's on top. This story is from Illusions, the book Illusions. I don't know if any of you read that back in, what was 70s, maybe 80s? By Richard Bach. After he wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull, he wrote this. So it's called Letting Go. So once there lived a village of creatures along the bottom of a great crystal river. The current of the river swept silently over them all, young and old, rich and poor, good and evil. The current going its own way, knowing only its own crystal self. Each creature in its own manner clung tightly to the twigs and rocks of the river bottom, for clinging was their way of life, and resisting the current was what each had learned from birth. But one creature said at last, "I'm tired of clinging. Though I cannot see it with my own eyes, I trust that the current knows where it is going. I shall let go and let it take me where it will. Clinging, I shall die of boredom." The other creatures laughed and said, "Fool, let go, and that current you worship will throw you tumbled and smashed against the rocks, and you will die quicker than boredom." But the one heeded them not, and taking a breath, did let go, and at once was tumbled and smashed by the current across the rocks. Yet, in time, as the creature refused to cling again, the current lifted him up from the bottom, and he was bruised and hurt no more. And the creatures downstream, to whom he was a stranger, cried, "See a miracle! A creature like ourselves, yet he flies. See the Messiah come to save us all." And the one carried in the current said, "I am no more Messiah than you. The river delights to lift us free. If only we dare let go. Our true work is this voyage, this adventure." But they cried the more, "Savior!" all the while clinging to the rocks. And when they looked again, he was gone, and they were left alone, making legends of a Savior. Pretty cute, huh? Pretty nice. So, that's, if we're looking outside ourselves for a Savior, for the answer, for everything, then we can't find the oneness, because the oneness comes from within. It's out there, it's in here, it's everywhere, but you can't stay focused outside. We have to look within to find that oneness. And I don't know about you, but the first time I heard this concept of oneness was here. And I was like, really? Really? They really think we're all connected? Now, how is that even possible? How does that happen? And how are we connected? And what does that all mean? And so I was kind of like, I don't know about this. But there was something in me that said, I think it's true. And I wanted to find out more. And so, but I had grown up Catholic, and I mostly was Catholic because my father was, and I wanted to go to church with him because I wanted to spend time with him, and I wanted donuts after. so I always went to church with my dad. So my dad was seeking. I felt like I had been seeking all my life, so I had done a bunch of different things as I went on. But I wanted to find the truth, and so But I wasn't sure I believed in any of this stuff I had been hearing all my childhood. And so I thought, well, maybe I'm an atheist. I started finding out what an atheist was, and it was like, I don't know if I want to say it's absolutely not true. There was something, again, there's something inside that said, maybe there's something else, maybe there's some truth in it. And then I thought, I'd heard about the definition of an agnostic, right? So now I was like, okay, I'm not going to say it's not true. I'm not going to say it is true. And as soon as you prove it to me, then I'll believe, okay? And in high school, I used to go to like Young Life and be around some Christians and stuff. And they didn't always like me around because I challenged everything they said. But what about that? What about that? And I tell them, I'll tell you what. If I'm standing with you and you ascend into heaven, then I believe. So, but again, the calling, the pull kept coming to me. But then I found landmark education. Does anybody know S training, landmark? Anybody not know what that is? Okay, so that's it started with S training in the 70s, and it was called personal growth. Okay, so it was a weekend course where they just kind of beat the heck out of you and got you to get to the point where you went, there's everything is empty and meaningless, but the good part was, I can create my life any way I want it. That was the bottom line of what you got to, was I can create my life. And there's this thing called possibility out there. Where, nobody said where, nobody knew how you tap into it, except by your word. You said, this is what I want, and then, I didn't bring that, I think you say it's in Goethe quote, that talks about once you commit, all lines of providence line up to support you. Well, how the heck does that happen? And so, matter of fact, after the forum, I said I wanted to start an adoption center here in Santa Barbara. I had adopted a couple of children and didn't really like the way it went. And so there was only one other person I knew in town that was doing stuff around adoption. I knew her first name. I had been at a meeting with her, did not know her last name, did not know how to reach her. And I'm driving through a parking lot and she walks in front of my car.
Goodness.
And I said, Joni, come here. And so she comes over and she said, I've been looking for you. She said, I want to start an adoption support group. And I said, no, I want to start an adoption center. And she said, okay. And she knew a couple of other people and we got it started. And we had it for about 10 years. And so it's like that's where, it comes in. And when I got to here, I found out that, I had been co-creating with the divine and didn't even know it. And now the interesting thing was that just as I was leaving Landmark, I was a seminar leader there, and they were having us learn this phrase, and it was, and I still remember because they really drilled it in. It was being related to that which is unrecognizable to be related to. Hello, God, that divine essence. We don't know we're related. We can't recognize that we're related necessarily because we can't see it, but we are, no matter what. So they were moving in that direction. I don't know whatever happened with it. I don't think it fully went on that way, but excuse me one second. But back to this oneness thing. So you may have had the experience, but I hear people talk about that they've had the experience of feeling like one with everybody, with everything. I've never felt that. And I was jealous, and I was like, I want to feel that, I want to feel that. And I thought, well, maybe I'm not spiritual enough, or maybe I haven't done the right things, or maybe that. And then all of a sudden I realized, I believe it, and beyond believing it, I know it. I know I am connected with everything and everyone, and with the divine all the time. And that's really all I need. I don't need to necessarily feel it, I just need to know that that's the truth. And when I declare something, when I want something, when I pray for something, it shows up, right? There's my proof. There's my evidence, finally. So, sorry, just have to check some notes. So, but how do we connect? How do we know that, like I said, just knowing it, God is, right? That's it. But there are other things we can do, ways we can look at life, ways we can be within within ourselves that we can help that along. So I want to talk about a few of those. So one is doing our inner work, checking out what's going on with me. And when I first heard about this shadow side work, I didn't like it. I did not like that idea at all. I was like, no, I want to look at the good, beautiful stuff in the world and in me. I don't want to look at that stuff, you know. But as you go on, you start to say, gee, maybe there is something to this, you know. I recently had kind of a falling out with several friends and family members, different ones, not anything associated together. And I was like, what's the common denominator here? Uh-oh, I might need to look here, you know. And so I didn't know who to go talk to get some support, because I had falling outs with all those people, right? Not all of them, but anyway. So I went to my daughter, who is obviously loves me unconditionally, or she better, but she's also very insightful, very wise, and very gentle when she gives you some ideas. And so I went and I was telling her the stories of each of the incidents that happened, and she looks at me and she goes, "Why do you feel the need to reply?" And I went, "Why? Well," you know, and it stopped me for a minute, and I started looking, why do I need, you know, because something happens and then I get upset and jump on them, or, you know, tell them they're wrong, or whatever I did in the different incidents. And I went, why do I feel the need to reply? So I started thinking, and I went, well, some of it was because I'm the one that does that, you know, it's part of my identity. It's like I make sure people are on the right track with things, you know. I thought, well, that's not, maybe I better look a little deeper, you know, and it just kept going deeper, and it got down to, because I want to be right, you know, and I want my life to be better, and if they don't believe the way I do, then my life won't be better. So it's all about me, you know. And so when I got down to that, I went, okay, so I guess it's time to let that go, you know. So I had to go back and make up with everybody and apologize. But that was definitely looking at my shadow side. And so that was when I started seeing the value, and I had done some other ones before that. I didn't wait till just now to do it. But, you know, that was seeing that shadow side, seeing that work, and that's part of the work we want to do, because the more we let go of that shadow side of ourselves, or come to peace with it, accept it really is more what we need to do, is accept, oh yeah, I'm just like everybody else, I have those things, then we know we are like everyone else, and we are connected to everyone else. And actually, science has proven that we are all connected. They now can see this network of connection between every person, everything, everything, not just people, and they can see it, that we are all connected. And so, again, if we can visualize that, and some of us are more visual, right? So when I read that, and I was like, oh, I can see that netting, I can see it in my mind. I can't see it right now, but I know it's there. Some people can hear things and know that it's the truth. Some people have to feel it. So I don't have feelings, but I don't. That's not my first way of processing. So I hear it and I see it in my mind. Other people, as soon as they feel it, and they're the ones that are feeling that connection right away. You know, they don't even need to see it; they can feel it. So it's all different for all of us. Okay. So I wanted to show you this. The first slide there, Jeff. Albert Einstein said, there are only two ways to live your life. One is as if nothing is a miracle, and the other is as if everything is a miracle. So that's a miracle that we can connect, that we could be connected. And so we can see it that way, or we can say, nah, I don't think so, right? So it's our choice every moment of every day. And then Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, that's the next one. There is one spirit in which we live, one mind by which we think, one body of which we are a part, and one light that lighteth every person's pathway. Every person who exists manifests the light of God. Everything that lives proclaims the glory of God. So again, it's just more of, that is us, we are it. And so, you know, you really can't hide. So, you know, it's like, if people say, I don't believe in God, does that mean God doesn't exist?
No.
No, God still exists. If we choose not to pay attention to the divine, it's still there with you, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, it's still there. It's still within you. It's still available to you in the heart of God within you. When I heard EJ playing that, I was like, perfect, perfect. So it's easy, and sometimes it's easier to understand that the divine is part of us, but more difficult to understand that we are part of it, right? It's like, okay, yeah, I get, you know, this divine energy, of course it's going to come take care of me, but how am I part of it? You know, am I really part of it? And let's go to the next, you know, funny places quotes come from. Russell Brand, who would have thought? Do you know who he is?
Yes.
Yeah. It's difficult to believe in yourself because the idea of self is an artificial construct. You are, in fact, part of the glorious oneness of the universe. Everything beautiful in the world is within you. So because we are connected to everything, that means that what we do, what we put out in the world, touches everything and everyone. So that's how we are one with the divine. There's just no not being there. It's just part of who we are. So one of the things I wanted to talk about also is, are any of you here interested in making a difference in the world? Right now, right here? Okay, very good, very good. So are you willing, in order to do what I'm going to ask you to do, are you willing to, you have to give up two things. Your addiction to being liked. So, you know, we're spiritual people, we want everybody to like us, we want to, you know, well, we wanted that since we were born, probably. So, our addiction to being nice, which oftentimes is inauthentic. That's what we're talking about. Not when you're genuinely kind to somebody or nice to somebody, but when you're being nice instead of being truthful, instead of being honest. You got to tone it down if you're me, but sometimes I'm a little too truthful, right? Some people that know. See, I got a nod back there. But there's only one thing that you have to do, that you can do right now to make a difference, and that is to learn to not take offense. And that was part of what I had to learn in that lesson. It's like, what happens when we take offense? We then turn around and offend. You know, so either way, it's not working. So it's, in Landmark, they say, don't take it personal. There's nothing that's personal. You know, you make it personal. It's not inherently personal. So if you could go out in the world and not take offense to anything that's happening, what could you do instead? Maybe love people. Maybe give more of that divine energy out in the world. Okay. This quote I came up with after I sent those slides, so this one this is from some Native American wisdom. Be tolerant of those who are lost on their path. Ignorance, anger, jealousy, and greed stem from a lost soul. Pray that they will find guidance. So all those people out there that you think, oh, they're so stupid, or you may not think that, whatever we think, you know. Why do they do it that way? What are they thinking, you know? Why do they get that and I don't? Whatever that is out there, or the way they're being you don't like, then just pray for them. To connect to that divine essence, because they are you, you are them. You know that whole thing about they're a mirror? Oh man, that's another one I didn't like, right? If they bother you, they're your mirror, you know. And now I just go, okay, what is it that I'm doing? Who am I being? What's happening in me that's like that I can work on, that I can change? Because as we change, the whole world changes. There are so many organizations and people working for love and peace in the world. And if you look around on the internet a little bit, you'll find there's so many people. Sometimes it feels like, you know, it's only a few of us, right? It's like, this teaching, though, is not an easy one. You know, we teach that everything you do and say, you have to be responsible for. It's how you create your life, it's how you create the world. It's a tough teaching. That's why there aren't very many people here. You know? There are also places where they're saying, oh yeah, do whatever you want. You know? But it's a tough teaching to be in, so you can't be faint of heart, and you aren't, or you wouldn't be here. So, so again, if you want to make that change, I think I have one more slide. I don't want you to repeat this yet. It's an affirmation, but we're not going to repeat it yet because I want to ask you something first. So, when I was talking about when you commit to something, when you go to do something, things. Oh no, I didn't say that part. That's what I'm going to say right now. When you commit to things, all kinds of things that aren't that show up in your life. You notice that? It's like, so if we're going to say this, what's going to show up? Not love. All the places you don't love, all the places people don't love you, all those people that are annoying to you. Because that's, if you're committing to being loved. So if you are willing to commit to it and declare this with me right now, you can stand up and read, and we'll read the slide together. Anybody? Because, you know, when that stuff shows up, you just handle it. You know, you go back to love. Okay, you ready? I am the place where love resides. So then you can go out and do that, okay? Okay, so I'm doing a workshop this afternoon. If you want some more about oneness, and I've got a huge list of practices and behaviors, and you go away with an anchor on how you're going to be in the world based on your commitment, and I've got a prayer and the handouts and all kinds of stuff. So if anybody wants to stay and do that, it's just $15. We'll be doing it over in the room, and we'll have a whole, you'll be so won by the time you walk out here, you won't know what to do with yourself. You'll float out, okay? Okay, so you are all absolutely amazing, and bless you, and namaste.
Stay.